All right, we are connected for the Friday edition of the Morning Check-In, and as always, looking forward to connecting, share my 2 cents on a variety of subject matter, and more importantly, what's more intriguing, a recent high in silver or an all-time high in Bitcoin? That's just something to consider, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on, whether you're a monetary enthusiast, whether you're a crypto enthusiast. That's something that, it's a good way to head into the weekend, that's for sure. So as always, my name is Mike. Looking forward to connecting with you guys, and let me make sure I'm flowing smoothly here and we can get into it. Lots of interesting headlines. We got more tariffs. We got more interesting distractions, noise, and all that good stuff like that. But today's going to be a good one. I want to have a good day. Start off with some good news, get into some market activity, and then go through some headlines and head into what should be a great weekend for everybody. But welcome. And before I move forward, any first-time viewers, definitely love to connect with you. Hit that like button, and if you find value here, share it and subscribe and all that good stuff there. Make sure you stay plugged in with the community, and we're going to have a good time this morning. All right, so let me make sure I'm flowing smoothly, and then we'll jump right into it. It's going to be definitely going to be a good one, man. I'm excited for this one, just because silver is still moving right now, and that's always a good thing. And of course, treasury yields are hiking as well, so that's not a good thing for Uncle Sam. Clearly, something's going on. And long as you are in the realm of holding something physical, you'll be better off than the majority. That's for sure. Okay, so let's get into it. Let me jump into the good news real quick. Then we'll get into some activity here. Let's not waste any time. All right, June 11th. Let's just zoom in here so you can see what I see. It says, conformed to the king. And this is out of Romans 8. Let me move my screen here so I can see. It says, for those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. Romans 8:29. It says, do you know what heaven's ultimate plan is for your life? It's not just to go to church. It's not just to be saved. It's to be conformed to the image of the King, Yeshua the Mashiach. Romans 8:29 says, you were predestined, chosen before time to look, live, and lead like Jesus. That's kingdom talk. See, when Jesus walked the earth, he said, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father, John 14:9. And the question is why? Because the King perfectly reflected heaven, the glory and the goodness of the Father. And guess what? You're next in line. You are not being molded by culture. You're being shaped by the King. You're not just a believer. You're a royal citizen, a younger sibling of the firstborn king. So this is more than salvation. This is transformation, because God isn't just trying to get you into heaven. He's working to express heaven through you. And the closing prayer is, King Jesus, conform me to your image so I can reflect heaven on earth just like you. Amen and amen. And as always, if that word hit a good note in your spirit, man, definitely hit that amen in the chat or the comment section, wherever you're watching from, and we can go from there. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man? Appreciate you for checking in with me. Okay, so let's just jump into it. Interesting question I want to put out today was, it looks like since I refreshed my screen, looks like something's happening. So we got silver at $38.13. It's up $1.25 early morning. And of course, it's premature to get too excited because we always have some slam downs heading into the weekend, but something could be different. And so this is pretty much the headliner for today, because for all my people who've been waiting patiently for the day of an arrival of this magnitude of silver, which is the most valuable, undervalued metal on the periodic table in reference to a variety of use cases, but more importantly, as a monetary medium, this is what we're looking like right now. And so this is over the last 10 years. Let me get myself out of the way here. Over the last 10 years, as you see above my head here, we have done some significant things. So going back, and I was actually looking at the chart earlier, and I remember that day on March 30th, as you can see over here, when it got down to $14.07. And I remember that day. It was a buying day. I remember that very well. That was during that time frame of 14 days to slow the spread, and the world has changed since then. Okay, I'm going to not go there today. I know it's been a very sensitive week for a lot of MAGA people, and I'm going to just not go there today because I'll leave it at that. I'm not even going to say anything. But as we can see here, ever since 2020, there's been a lot of pressure on the silver market. As we can see, it's been quite favorable for those who have been positioning themselves, or just simply, as I always mention, redeeming these for something that's real, tangible, that you can feel. It's something that's true, tried, and tested. And so literally to go back a little bit, the last time we were at $38 happened to have been on, let me see if I can zoom in here. It looks like September of 2011. So that's 14 years in climbing since we've seen this type of price activity, and the world has completely changed since then. And so I would never expect there to be a repressive drawdown like we've seen since that time frame, especially during the QE 1, 2, 3 and tightening phases. And so this is definitely something that we're going to touch on more. Okay, let's get into another interesting sector here. Whether you like it or not, it's a part of the restructuring of our monetary system. It's the digital side. And of course, Bitcoin, a 16-year-old software protocol, it has reached an all-time high as well of $118,000. And so, depending on what side of the spectrum, as I mentioned, on how you view this, what's more intriguing to you? Are you excited about both, or the fact that silver is reaching some things we haven't seen since 2011? Curious to see what you guys think. Feel free to drop some thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the chat. That's definitely something to touch on there. Okay, let's keep it moving. I want to get into a couple of different headlines. So this definitely should be of concern. So we have Treasury yields rise as Trump slaps 35% tariffs on Canada. And as you look at the 10-year, the 1 month, the 1 year, the 2 year, everything right now is in a green except the 3 month. And so literally all the short term under 10 is climbing. So therefore, what we're witnessing is somewhat of a sell-off of government liabilities. And so could this have anything to do with the concerns of this excess tax that on Canada by the tune of 35%? Possibly, or it could be something else. Who knows? We will have to wait and find out. Let me get myself together here. I feel like I'm everywhere. Okay. But let me just read into this real quick so you can see what I see here. And because this is some interesting news heading into this Friday. And I'd imagine this type of activity here, when you're taxing the world, definitely nations going to respond. Investors going to respond. It's going to spook the markets, which it clearly has. And so it says Trump announced on Thursday that levies on Canada import will rise to 35% on August 1st. Instead of working with the United States, Canada retaliated with its own tariffs, Trump said in a letter to Mark Carney. He also attributed the reason for the high rate to fentanyl. And so it looks like fentanyl, the fight on drugs that never seems to end, that will never end because it's such a profitable business for all sides of the aisle, is going to be an arguing point that they will use as these type of reasons to impose more taxes on other nations. And so fentanyl from Mexico, from Canada, from China, where does fentanyl not come from, according to these people here? But it says, if Canada works with me to stop the flow of fentanyl, we will perhaps consider an adjustment to this letter. And I wouldn't anticipate them coming to any types of terms on securing the border from fentanyl, just because, as I mentioned before, these are all political excuses that they're using to usher the world into this restructuring that we're all experiencing right now. And so there will be more of these things to come in the days ahead, I'm sure. And so here's just more insight here. U.S. will impose just a different side of the argument here. And let's look at, I wanted to look at the equities markets real quick. Let me zoom out here. So as of right now, S&P 500, let me refresh your screen. Only thing is doing somewhat decent is NVIDIA. But majority of everything else seems to be neutral or in the red. So that's never a good thing for a market that's dependent on keeping people deceived on the fact that bonds and stocks are the most secure and the best long-term forms of investing, because that's what everybody's portfolio, that 60-40 model, is the core essence of what we've been told is investing, when there's no such thing as investing in a world of monetary manipulation. In my opinion, it's all pure speculation, because no one, and that's the thing, I would imagine not many people here believe that this S&P 500, which is just one of the primary metrics for gauging the Magnificent Seven, the Magnificent Seven will remain the head honchos for 10, 15, 20 years. There will be disruptions. There will be the rollout of new companies that are not even on here yet that might replace some of these big boys. And so I wouldn't hold my hat on any of these companies 10, 20 years from now remaining the key of my portfolio if I was in that position. But okay, let's keep it moving. So here we have another little interesting headline. State Department is firing over 1,300 employees under Trump administration plan. The department is sending layoff notices to 1,107 civilian workers, civil service, and 246 foreign service officers. So this is as a result of the Supreme Court saying that it is okay to reduce some of the payroll / unnecessary staff that works for the government, which is always a good thing. But then again, the firing of these individuals here will ultimately not lead into any more savings of our government, just because, once again, the deficit spending is still up and our expenditures since the debt ceiling issue has gone up another, $400 billion or something like that. I have an article to highlight more of that. And so we will see how this all plays out. But then again, it's not a good Friday for 1,300 people. Okay, let's keep it moving. I want to go back to some of this silver action here. Let me get this on the screen, because I noticed that silver was trending right now, and a lot of people seem to be, I wouldn't say overly optimistic, but definitely excited about what they're seeing. And so here we got just more price activity, and so it looks like it's still hovering. Oh man, it's just okay. It went up another penny. So when a penny moves on silver, that's definitely something to take notice of. And then here we have $43 in gold this morning. So I'd imagine a lot of people are experiencing a little bit of excitement this Friday. So let's actually go to Twitter sphere and see what the silver chat is, because I'll imagine a lot of commentators and everybody else and their mother are talking about it. And so let's just see what we got here. See what the latest is. Get it in real time. Okay, so let me bring this on the screen here so you can see what I see. All right, so what we got here. This is just some stuff, some things worth mentioning this morning. I think it's going to be should be a light Friday. It says, if I'm not mistaken, 483 million ounces of silver were sold yesterday within an hour in an effort to stop this breakout in silver. So if this is correct, 483 million was sold and it still didn't do any damage. That is signs that the manipulation is hard to break. It's hard to keep the price suppressed. This short position is now completely underwater, which means that whoever sold those ounces were either an extremely bad trader or had no intention of making money in the first place. And since 483 million ounces is 57% of the annual mine supply, I'm assuming there's no physical silver to back this position. This amount is not available for sale anywhere. That is definitely some interesting perspective. It says silver just closed a 4-hour candle above quarterly line of resistance that dates back to 1980. No one is ready. And the fact that they use no one is ready, that's something that's very common amongst the maximalists, the Bitcoin maximalists, loving to talk about that. And then we have Chris Marcus. He's also excited about the $38 silver. And then we got Bob Coleman here. It says silver EFP spread just went vertical, up more than 100% today. So the exchange for physical spread is up. It's although both are going up in price, silver futures are accelerating higher in price versus silver spot physical market. Wow. So futures, looking ahead to futures, I'm sure it's going to be some interesting things heading into the weekend. So my assumption would be that between now and Monday, something has to give. And so whenever these types of things happen, based upon previous episodes, Donald Trump must be active with his fingers on the social media sphere to jawbone something in a different direction so that the markets will respond in a negative way. And in particular, silver. Having gold and silver taking a dip heading into Monday will be something that I would anticipate, just because there's going to be some type of distraction this weekend that will lead the markets to probably sell off come Monday morning, focusing on the commodity space to sell off rather than the equities market. And so here we got North Star. Let me get back to here. It says, to all the doubters, now do you believe in the power of technical analysis? And so here, this is him basically just topping his own horn of some chart action that he put out here. And let's just zoom in here. And according to him, the wake-up line for silver was approximately $35. And so this is what he forecasted a while ago. And so once it broke 35 is what he's getting at, we're off to the races. And so once it broke 35, which is the blue line, here we are now. And the ARC target area, according to him, is $38 to $50. And so I'm not a TA guy, but once again, when I know that the only thing the government can do is create this here, is I know it's just a matter of time before we see some real price discovery with the most undervalued monetary medium in human history. That's just me. Okay, let's keep it going. A couple other things there. Let's just see what's happening, man. This is real-time analysis on the silver surge, and I'd imagine it's going to get better. Silver about to print a God candle. Okay. Here we got silver futures just exploded to $38.93, up $1.63 on the session. The pressure is building, shorts are trapped, and the momentum is unstoppable. It says this is what a real squeeze look like. So we have a lot of people excited. Silver futures, $38.93. World's smartest AI confirms silver is the most undervalued commodity on the planet from first principles. And so this is based upon a question: what is the most undervalued commodity in the world? Just one word. Says then simply mathematically prove why from first principles. Thoughts. And it looks like a Grok, assuming you use Grok 4, yep. It says silver. Why? Because from first principle, the value of a commodity is determined by the equilibrium price where supply equals demand. If there is a persistent market deficit, demand exceeds supply at the current price, the commodity is undervalued as the price must rise to restore equilibrium by reducing quantity demanded and or increasing the quantity supply according to basic supply and demand theory. So it looks like a lot of people appear to be sharing this. And so definitely that is something to take note of. And so just more excitement here. Silver is crushing it today. All we're waiting to is a push to 50. Okay, so that's a little bit on the silver euphoria. Now let's take it and see what is happening in the Bitcoin space. And based upon the fact that Bitcoin is where everyone is being steered, maxis are loving it. But once again, to me, and this is where I can share my personal opinion on what's more exciting, having watched both of these quote unquote assets for quite some time now. And for me, knowing how important it is to be in a world that's steering towards the digital side of things, knowing how important it is to remain anchored down to something heavy, true, tried, and tested in the physical realm. And that's why silver, to me, is more intriguing, having had this, 15-year-ish high, 14, 15-year high, and climbing. It's because silver has been the Achilles heel of the monetary powers that be for quite some time now, ever since we came off of the silver standard in 1873. So going from a bimetallic standard to a gold standard to a fiat standard, now to a debt standard, and seeing how they're trying to usher us into a digital asset standard is the more reason why I'm excited to see silver respond, because I know ultimately how all this ends if silver and gold do not get the type of attention that it deserves, which is every single person should realize the importance of holding something physical in the form of gold and silver as an insurance policy against your government and the central banking policies in the age where they want us to go digital. And so if everybody was to go acquire, as I mentioned, redeem Federal Reserve notes for gold or silver, copper, platinum, palladium, anything, as I mentioned, from the periodic table that's a true metal, they will be better off, and it would slow down this digital transformation. It can't prevent it. It won't stop it, but it'll slow things down. And that, my friends, is something that would be good to see. But once again, I'm not going to hold my breath, because I'd imagine it's mighty hard for people to not chase the allure, especially when you've been marketed by CNBC, Fox, NBC, every major news source is highlighting Bitcoin well above gold for sure, and they'll never highlight silver the way that they will Bitcoin. And all you have to do is turn on your TV, and you're going to hear more about cryptocurrency than you will gold and silver. And you have to actually ask the question, why? Because they don't want you to go backwards. They want you to go forward into the future that they have already planned for us. And so just a little something there. But let's just look at some comments. I saw Peter Schiff talking as well about silver, which was very noteworthy of him. But we got Kobe Icy letter 3 hours ago says the S&P in Bitcoin terms is now down negative 15% year to date. Then he goes on to say since 2012, the S&P in Bitcoin terms is down 99.98%. We are witnessing history and basically just showing if a person would have held Bitcoin going back to 2012 up until today, you would have done a lot better as far as what you were holding or what you had access to, because you can't hold Bitcoin or you can't hold S&P. You can only have access to it in your portfolio or in your wallet. So I get the point, but then again, you can't hold any one of those things in your physical hand. Big difference. But as we can see on this map here, the decoupling between Bitcoin and S&P 500 happened back in 2013, and ever since then, it's been a mighty big divergence. And so definitely that's something to take note of. And then we got Bitcoin is up 100,000 since Peter Zan said Bitcoin would trade below zero in 2023. I don't know who that is. Okay, let's just see what some of the latest is. Let me go to latest, because I know for a fact this is an area where a lot of people, I'm sure, are beyond excited. So we got Bitcoin just hit an all-time high, but that's nowhere. The 10x is, we got somebody shilling another coin. What else we got here? MTD, gold is up, silver is up, copper up, Bitcoin up, Ethereum up, dollar down, White House bull post, and something fishy is going on. In response to, I'm sure, something came out the White House, them trying to distract us, as I just referenced. Said with Bitcoin new all-time high at 118,000, is the position as the 5th most valuable asset in the world. And what else here? We got more things here. So as always, to be expected, I'd imagine there's a lot more excitement in the Bitcoin space than silver. But then again, if you have exposure to both of them, you're doing good heading into this weekend. All right, let's keep it going. What else we got here? Let's see what's trending. Let me see what's trending out here. And as always, as I mentioned, it's going to be a light Friday. Just want to check in and share my 2 cents. And the question I put out there for everybody, what's more exciting for you, depending on what you keep an eye on? Is it all-time highs in Bitcoin, silver, or both? So feel free to drop some thoughts, ideas, and suggestions in the chat. Let me know. What else we got going on here? I can always find something to touch on when it comes to Donald Trump. Let me just look and see what he tweeted since then, because the S&P 500 is not doing the best right now, I'd imagine. Oh, my goodness. Here's something out of the White House that came out, looks like late last night, which to me is comedy. The media team, the PR team at the White House, something else. And so it says the White House, the symbol of hope. And then it has Donald Trump, a Trump presidency. It says truth, justice, the American way, Superman Trump. And then we got 16 million people saw this, 20,000 shared it. And then here we have some commentary on Trump. It says Trump is doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending. He's increasing it. The fact that people are surprised. And then we have here, it says 300,000 children went missing under Joe Biden. We've already gotten 10,000 of those children, and we have a lot more planned to come back. We're getting them back by the thousands. And this is apparently something Donald Trump mentioned. But here is a question you have to ask yourself. And this came out 44 minutes ago. So he's highlighting how all the children went missing under the Joe Biden presidency. 10,000 have been gotten back, according to him. But he will not expose the individuals involved with the Epstein file list, because it's those people that have financed Epstein and all the other workers of his, and those individuals that we don't know about this in the pedophilia, sex trafficking industry. And so he's highlighting once again the problem, trying to make it appear as if his administration is trying to tackle it to solve it, but he will not touch the heart of the issue, which is exposing the individuals that's responsible for keeping the industry alive internationally. This is an international problem, not just a U.S. problem when it comes to exposing the Epstein file list. And so I'll never expect him to do that, but I will expect him to toot his own horn on some small, minuscule, quote unquote, victories that he would like the American people to think that he's working towards. So once again, the virtue here, but never allowing you to see what's under or behind the curtain, as it's better off saying. Okay, let's keep it going. A lot of people, I can show you a lot of things here. A lot of people are very displeased with this current administration. And I'm wondering why, in my opinion, but because what do they expect? But he did a good job of selling to people. Okay, what else we got here? Let's just go back and look at the silver activity and see if anything's changed. And then other than that, we'll call it a stream. And nope, as of now, it looks like gold and silver still ticking upward. So this is going to be an interesting day to keep an eye on, these market activities. And so heading to the weekend, it's going to be definitely something worthwhile. So these are just things I want to touch on. Nothing major outside of the anticipation of touching $40 an ounce in silver. That'll be something to see. And I'll go from there. As always, for those who have plugged in, if you've enjoyed being able to connect, as always, feel free to hit that thumbs up button. And before we get out of here, let me just highlight to you some things to consider if you haven't already. Never know who might be new. So getting gold and getting physical is more important. So if you have not, I'd encourage you, get a hold of 1/4 grain, 24 karat gold mini bars. And as always, just trying to help the community diversify out of the old and into what has been true, tried, and tested. So if you're interested, links in the description. And also, for those who recognize the importance of platinum, go ahead and get yourself some. Links in the description. And then last, get yourself some cash, some gold cash notes. We got the gold notes here, the gold backs. Links in the description for these as well for those who want to get physical. But other than that, people, just checking in, sharing my 2 cents on a couple things here. Hope you guys have a great Friday, blessed weekend. Love, live, learn, laugh. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.